NFL defends controversial penalties against Patrick Mahomes. What really happened? Hey, football fans, if you thought the drama on the field couldn't get any juicier, think again. We've got a bigger controversy brewing than the last-minute touchdown in a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, the face of the Kansas City Chiefs, found himself in the middle of some pretty heated penalty calls during their divisional round win against the Houston Texans. But hold your horses. Was Mahomes actually wronged? Or were those penalties the right calls? Don't worry, I've got all the juicy details for you. And I'll break it down like a fast-paced 4th and 1 play. So, grab your snacks, sit tight, and let's dive into this penalty drama. Because things are about to get as wild as a Mahomes Hail Mary. The Chiefs, the Texans, and some questionable calls. So, it was a big game on Saturday, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Houston Texans. But instead of talking about all the flashy plays, we found ourselves talking about something else: the referees. Surprise, surprise, the Chiefs might have won the game. But the real winner here? You guessed it, controversy. And this time, it was all about Patrick Mahomes. He was slapped with a couple of those penalties that make every fan scream WTF? At their screens. Now, we know Mahomes is no stranger to getting attention. But this time, it wasn't for his dazzling plays. Nope, it was because of some unnecessary roughness calls and roughing the passer penalties that made a lot of people scratch their heads. If you tuned into the game, and I bet you did. Because who doesn't want to watch Mahomes work his magic? You would have heard ESPN analyst Troy Aikman practically lose it on air. Aikman was not having it. He was fuming, and it's no surprise, because when you see penalties like this, you kind of want to throw your hands up and ask, is this the NFL or a penalty flag factory? Then, we had Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans, before the game, giving his own dramatic preview of what was to come. He pretty much said, it's us versus everybody, including the refs. Yeah, he wasn't just talking about the Chiefs. But hold up, was there a legitimate reason for these calls? Were they all just one big officiating nightmare? Or did the refs actually get it right? Breaking it down, the NFL explains the penalties. So, here's where things get real interesting. After the game, the NFL spoke up. And guess what? They said, hey, folks, no need to panic, we got it right. Walt Anderson, an NFL rules analyst and former referee, basically a man who knows the rulebook like the back of his hand, went on NFL Game Day to set the record straight. He took us through every single penalty that had Chiefs fans and Texans fans alike looking at their TV screens like, wait, did I miss something? Let's start with the first one. Roughing the passer in the first quarter. Picture this. Mahomes is in the middle of a third down play. He releases the ball and, just as the ball leaves his hands, wham, he gets hit by Texans defensive end Walt Anderson Jr. Now, if you're Mahomes, you're probably saying, I threw the ball. So, what gives? Well, folks, the refs threw the flag because Mahomes' head moved a little bit. Yes, it's as dramatic as it sounds. Why? Because the refs saw what they thought was a hit to the helmet. And yes, the NFL does not take kindly to hits to the head. So, poof, that's 15 yards, a fresh set of downs, and a drive that eventually turned into a field goal. Not exactly the hit Mahomes wanted, but the officials made it clear, if there's any head contact, it's going to be flagged. But, wasn't that a soft call? Well, the NFL got a little more into it. According to Anderson, the officials can't exactly review this one using replay assist because, well, there was contact to the helmet. And as we know, when you hit the QB's helmet, you're essentially asking the ref to throw a flag before they even blink. He even mentioned that roughing the passer is one of those calls where the officials are told to call it if they're not sure. You could say that this is the one penalty where they don't want to take any chances. Safety first, people. The second call, unnecessary roughness, or unfortunate roughness? Moving on to the third quarter, where things got a little wild again. This time, Mahomes slid late and, bam, two Texans defenders seemed to collide with each other. Whoops, how does this happen? Well, the collision caused a bit of an unfortunate helmet-to-helmet hit. So, the officials threw the flag again. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, Mahomes was already on the ground. Is this really a penalty? Well, apparently, it is. You see, Any helmet-to-helmet contact is considered a penalty, no matter how soft it looks. In this case, even though Mahomes wasn't hit that hard, the officials aren't allowed to make a judgment call based on severity. It's still a penalty when there's any helmet contact, even if it's just a graze. So, yeah, Mahomes gets hit, and the refs call it. That's the NFL way. Is there a bigger picture to all this? Let's zoom out a bit here. We all know that penalties like this can spark some pretty heated debates. Is it just that the refs have it out for Houston? Is the NFL too protective of quarterbacks like Mahomes? Or is this just a part of the game? According to Anderson, the bigger goal here is to improve officiating. And trust me, they're not trying to make it perfect. They're just trying to make the game better, safer, and, above all, fairer for everyone involved. He also noted that some of the gray areas will be up for discussion in the offseason, particularly around what constitutes forcible contact. So yeah, get ready for more debates. But as Anderson said, perfect will never be the enemy of good. And honestly, we all know football isn't perfect, but we love it anyway. The final word on those flags. In the end, what does this mean for the Chiefs? A win, sure, a couple of flags, but nothing that changed the outcome of the game drastically. Was it controversial? Absolutely. Was it right? Well, according to the NFL, yes it was. But these calls? They'll continue to spark debate for weeks to come. Let's just hope that next time, the conversation is about Mahomes' epic throws, not those epic flags. And hey, no matter what you think about the calls, one thing's for sure, the drama ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So, what do you think? Were the refs right to throw those flags? Or were the calls a little too over the top for your liking? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're still here, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications because, trust me, we're just getting started with the NFL drama this season. Draws a roughing penalty. Until next time, keep your head in the game. ESPN couldn't believe it. Stay safe. We need to talk about something that happened on Saturday during the AFC divisional round game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. It involves none other than Patrick Mahomes, the NFL's golden boy, the man with multiple Super Bowl rings, and now, apparently, the man who can draw the most absurd roughing the passer calls the league has ever seen. Mahomes is basically the new Tom Brady, not just because of his insane talent and numerous MVPs, but also because he's now collecting questionable roughing penalties like they're Pokemon cards. The play, when minor contact becomes a major flag. So, let's break this down. Walt Anderson, the Texans' defensive lineman, makes a move to rush Mahomes. Now, it wasn't exactly a sack attempt, it was more of a, hey, I'm here, and I'm going to rush you into making a throwaway kind of move. The two make some minor contact at the end of the play, which, frankly, happens every single play in the NFL when a defensive player gets near a quarterback. But nope, the refs decided this contact was worthy of a penalty. And boom, roughing the passer flag flies. This wasn't just any ordinary penalty, though. This was the kind of flag that made even ESPN's broadcast crew scratch their heads. Russell Yerk, ESPN's rules analyst, was practically stunned, saying, "I don't even know what we're looking at here." Yes, folks, when the rules analyst can't even justify the penalty, you know it's something out of the ordinary. The roughing call, a completely soft moment in NFL history. Let's take a moment to analyze this for a second. Walt Anderson didn't body slam Mahomes. He didn't clothesline him or deliver a flying elbow drop. No, he made minor contact with Mahomes as he was trying to throw the ball away. Anderson didn't even have time to adjust. It was simply a rushed play from both sides. There was no force, no malice, just some incidental contact. Yet, somehow, this became roughing the passer? At this point, it almost feels like Mahomes has entered a special zone in the NFL where every quarterback touch gets amplified into a penalty. Much like Tom Brady before him, Mahomes seems to have a "do not touch" sticker on his back. Even if that touch is about as gentle as a breeze. The new era of quarterback protection. Look, it's no secret that quarterbacks, especially stars like Mahomes, are heavily protected by the rules. We all understand that, but this call? This was a new level of questionable. There was literally nothing Anderson could have done to stop the contact. He was already in motion. And it wasn't like he was running around trying to take Mahomes out of the game. It was a completely innocuous moment that the officials somehow decided deserved a penalty. The flag came out faster than you could say, "I can't believe that just happened." And honestly, the refs should have picked up the flag. In fact, a lot of people probably wish they had a reverse flag option where the referees could look at a situation, then say, "Whoops, that was a bad call. Mahomes' special treatment. Is this the new norm?" Is it fair to say Mahomes is getting the kind of special treatment that's reserved for the most celebrated quarterbacks in NFL history? Probably. And honestly, he's earned that status. He's a generational talent. And yes, he's won multiple Super Bowls. But let's be real for a second, this penalty was so soft. Even the announcers were confused. And when the folks on the broadcast can't wrap their heads around a penalty, you know something's fishy. This might just be one of the most egregious roughing calls we'll see all season. The poor Texans defense had no choice but to watch helplessly as Mahomes walked away with a free first down that never should have happened. Conclusion: the Mahomes effect, and maybe some overzealous refs. While Mahomes is undoubtedly a legend in the making, it's clear that this penalty, and others like it, might be a bit much. Is he getting the benefit of the doubt from refs? Absolutely. But this call? It's just too far. The NFL might need to take a step back and re-evaluate some of these roughing the passer calls to make sure they're actually, warranted. So, Patrick, you're incredible. There's no doubt about that. But let's not pretend every single tap near you deserves a flag. Let's keep the game fair and fun. Even for the legendary quarterbacks. You're already a magician. No need to get extra help from the refs. Everyone's turning on Patrick Mahomes following egregious penalty. Is it finally too much? Alright, folks, it's happened. When even the commentators start calling out Patrick Mahomes, you know it's officially reached a boiling point. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterback has been at the center of a whirlwind of controversy during the AFC divisional round game against the Houston Texans on Saturday. It seems like every time Mahomes even looks like he's been touched, a flag flies. And, trust me, it wasn't just the Chiefs fans who were grumbling about this. The whole internet had something to say about the penalties. The first incident, a little tickle. A lot of flags. The first questionable moment came in the first quarter when Walt Anderson, the Texans defender, was hit with a roughing the passer penalty. Why? Because, apparently, Mahomes got a little tap from Anderson after releasing the ball. It wasn't exactly a violent collision, more like a friendly, "Hey, I see you," tap. But, hey, when Mahomes is in the game, even a light touch is apparently enough to send him flying straight into a field goal attempt from Harrison Butker. So, in short, a barely noticeable tap led to a free 15 yards and some extra points. The usual for Mahomes. But hey, we move. The second incident, Mahomes slide into drama. But the real drama went down in the third quarter. Mahomes, trying to take off on a run, decided to do what Mahomes does best, create magic. But as he tried to slide to avoid a hit, Henry Toto of the Texans made a tackle that, in the most basic of terms, wasn't really that late. However, it sure looked like Mahomes thought it was. Because, oh boy, he went into full dramatic mode. Arms flailing, face scrunched up in agony. And suddenly, we had ourselves a flag for a late hit. And just like that, another free 15 yards. Sure, Mahomes wasn't hit late, but why let that stop him from getting some bonus yards? This extra set of downs would, of course, lead to Travis Kelce's 11-yard touchdown. And suddenly the Chiefs were up by 8. The fans, however, were not pleased. In fact, they were downright fed up. The internet reacts. A serious outcry. Fans of other teams, especially those not sipping the Mahomes Kool-Aid, couldn't help but voice their frustration. They couldn't help but notice that C.J. Stroud, the Texans QB, had been hit late multiple times throughout the game. But the second Mahomes gets touched, a flag and an extra 15 yards come flying in like it's Christmas morning. You can almost hear the internet collectively saying, "Why is Mahomes getting all this VIP treatment?" The reactions were swift and blunt, with Twitter practically exploding. One fan wrote, "CJ Stroud gets tackled to the ground like it's a rugby match. But Mahomes gets a free penalty every time someone breathes near him. What is this? The Mahomes Protection Act? Ouch." The big question. Is it time to call out the refs? Look, We all know Mahomes is one of the best players in NFL history. The guy is already a Super Bowl legend and has an arsenal of crazy passes that leave us all in awe. But there's a fine line between giving the quarterback the benefit of the doubt and creating a scenario where it feels like a player can get a free pass at every slight touch. It's one thing if Mahomes is genuinely being targeted, but it starts to feel like he's benefiting from some seriously questionable officiating when it seems like the refs are constantly ready to flag every little brush of a defender. Are the referees protecting him because of his status as a Super Bowl winner? Or is it just a case of overzealous officiating? Either way, it's starting to become more of a spectacle than a sport. Conclusion: the ref's whistle needs a break. So, where do we go from here? Will this continue? Or are we finally going to see some accountability for these questionable penalties? Mahomes doesn't need any extra help to win games. The guy is already playing at an elite level. At this rate, he's becoming less of a football star and more of a walking penalty magnet. Fans are starting to wonder if Mahomes has somehow become the untouchable QB, where even a gentle breeze towards him triggers a flag. Whatever the case may be, one thing's for sure: it's making the NFL a little less fun for everyone else. Let's just hope the referees start to let the game breathe a bit more, especially when it comes to Mahomes. The guy doesn't need extra penalties. He's already got enough tricks up his sleeve to win without them.